How long have we been friends?
Oh gosh, it's probably been 8, 10 years.
What year exactly?
So it is 2025. Um, I think I met you like tail end of high school, so like probably 2017.
Tail end of high school. So I met you through. I know we met through Tyler.
Right,
That's how it originally started, and specifically at my cousin Dylan's.
right.
Specifically, um, and that was really. I'm trying to think. What year was that? Was that 20?
2017, 2018 probably.
I almost want to say 16.
Okay, it could be.
I almost want to say 16. Um, you went to Salem. I went to Clover. Um, and it turns out our parents, I think, have known each other for even longer.
Oh yeah.
So
Technically, we were related by marriage.
we're really. I actually
Yeah.
don't know this.
So your mom, her maiden name was Ferris. Well, my ex stepdad was Ferris,
Right.
and that was my ex stepdad's cousin was your mom,
Ex stepdad's cousin.
Curtis.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my granddad's Esther,
Mm-hmm.
Clarence's brother, Curtis.
Oh Lord, they're brothers.
I don't know. I'm getting this mixed up now. We're going so far back into like
The lore.
the lore. I'm trying to think. What was his last name? It was Curtis
Ferris.
Ferris.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe they weren't brothers.
I don't think so because he's like my mom's age.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
We're
Oh,
talking about a different Curtis then. Because the Curtis that I'm thinking of is dead.
Yeah. Not to my knowledge, he's dead. I feel like my mom would have told me.
This is so convoluted so quickly.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
basically, we were related by marriage, essentially, at one point,
Yes.
and then that ended up being interrupted. How?
So my mom and him got a divorce,
Right.
but she still knew a bunch of like their family and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that works.
I think that's really interesting how that all was going on. Then we met. It's almost like one of those situations where, like, yeah, we'll chop it up to fate because we were gonna meet eventually.
Right.
Because like I feel like it's one of the you ever meet people in life and you're like, oh, we weren't gonna meet here, but we were gonna meet eventually. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
were going to cross paths.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or you meet people and you've been stepping on their toes for eternity. Like
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I've met vocalists or different drummers or people and they've been like, I went to this show and I saw this person and I've been like, oh, I was like at every one of those shows, dude. We've been stepping on each other's heels for like 3 years now.
Right.
So I kind of feel like when you meet people in life, it's like it's destined at some point. You know, some people we cross paths with and they're there for a season. I've definitely met people like that, and then
Oh,
I've
yeah.
met people where I've been like, I met this person, and like now they're here, and I don't ever see them going away until
Right.
one of us dies.
Right.
And I think that's one of those, and I think that's like a really cool intro to the podcast because we've been friends for so freaking long,
Right.
and we've done all kinds of crazy shit together.
And
we-
both of us went through like a lot of like life changes. Like both of us have grown up a lot since like
Yes.
we first met.
We've both grown up a ton.
Right.
And you're 27.
27.
I'm 26 now. So when we met, how old were we?
Oh God, I was probably
We were both dumb and immature for sure.
correct. I was probably 18.
18. That means I was 17,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, 17. And I was driving a red Jeep at the
Yep.
time.
I remember the red Jeep. Do you remember the condom incident?
Oh my God.
That AJ put a condom on your Jeep antenna?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. Shout out AJ. He put a condom on my antenna. And then the condom was funny, but the gobstoppers were even better. Shout
what was the
out Dylan. I
Right.
love you. We Godstoppers thrown at my windshield, and I was enraged. I was like that guy off 300 Spartans, ready to kick that guy down the hole. I
Oh my
was
God,
so
I
mad.
remember that. Jesus, you did get mad about that.
'Cause
Okay,
my-
I don't know if you got mad about the condom or the gobstoppers.
I got mad about my antenna getting thrown in a tree. That's what I got mad about.
Oh,
And I think my dad had to buy me a new one.
okay, that's what happened.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the antenna incident happened, like the antenna in the tree happened before the condom, and I think that's probably what spurred the condom thing. Maybe. God, that was so long ago.
I think the condom on the antenna was the same day that the antenna ended up in a tree.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure, 100%. And Dylan was driving at the time. I want to say he had the Nissan.
I think you're right.
The Nissan was his
The
car.
Maxima.
The Mac. No. The
Oh.
Titan.
Oh, that's right.
The Titan. Yes, the Titan. He had
Oh,
the Titan, Nissan Titan. He was driving that, and yeah. So
Gosh.
that's been so long ago. Wow, we've just dated ourselves in society, and now we're gonna look back on this in 20 years and be like, oh wow, we're even older now. That's crazy. So we became friends and we bonded over music.
So, at first we didn't. So I remember, like you were like, yeah, I like Linkin Park, and I was like, haha, I'm gonna mess with him. I'm gonna send him Anthem by Bring Me the Horizon,
Yes.
and you're like, oh shit, I actually really like that, and that I feel like kind of kicked off your like true heavier metal.
I
career.
had yeah, I had discovered I hadn't discovered Bring Me quite yet. Like I'd probably heard Bring Me and didn't know who they were. I never heard Anthem. I was let's see, this is 20. Yeah, so I discovered Of Mice and Men in 2014. So I definitely knew what metalcore was. Restoring Force was like a big album.
Oh
we
yeah,
both love that
probably
album.
one of their. I would dare say one of their biggest albums because
Yeah.
that kind of came out during the same time as like Sempiternal
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
It
So
was like right on the end of Sempiternal 2013 going to 2014. You know, those albums were like iconic in their time and stuff. But like
oh yeah,
I remember you showed me Anthem by Bring Me, and I was very much like, what is this? Like, this is nuts. And that is off of There's a Hell, Let's Keep It to what's it called?
there's the hell. Believe me, I've seen it.
Yes.
There is a heaven. Believe me, I've seen it.
There's a Hell, Let's Keep It a Secret.
Yes.
Maybe it's backwards. No, it's backwards.
Ooh.
It's There's a Hell, Believe Me, I've Seen It. There's a Heaven, Let's Keep It a
Yes.
Secret.
Yes.
That's
You're
it.
right. Yes.
Ollie Sykes is probably like cringing right now. Anyways,
Probably.
so I found that you showed me that that song, and that kind of took me down that rabbit hole. Then I discovered Sempiternal, and then obviously Bring Me is like huge today, which is super cool. And then I mean we still like listen to the same stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean we went out earlier, we got some dinner, we got some drinks. You showed me Treaty Oak Revival, which is like country, but
It's
it has
kind of a red. So it's described as like red dirt country, which is kind of a.
Is that like a new genre now? Red
So-
dirt country?
It's kind of a newer genre. There's an artist out there called Wetzel. He kind of like made it popular,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it's like you're not going to hear them on the radio
Right.
because it's not like your traditional like cold beer drinking, like,
Red dirt and trucks and
Right.
beer and yeah.
And I think that's, and I know you give me a lot of crap for like listening to sad country music,
I do.
but okay, hear me out. This is a hot take. I think that red dirt country, sad country, and metal have very similar like. They both have a lot of depth in their lyrics, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So, and I think that yes, they're very different styles, but both of them are extremely like in depth. They don't talk about like rock and roll is like women, drugs, and whatever.
yeah.
So I think they both kind of split off from that point. They kind of break from the norm and talk about like, mental health or bad decisions or stuff like that. And it's not the traditional like cold beer country music or, drugs, women, whatever.
I think that you're definitely going somewhere with that. I would like to say that I think, like, I would say when, like, some of this new music, double meanings, like, if you talk about, like, if you're telling, like, country music, and this is something, like, I think everybody can agree on when it comes to music, is, like, country music is the best storytelling music of all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%. I haven't found anything else that tells a good story other than country music, and I
Right.
grew up on it. So like, but like I could symbolize like a long red dirt road as in like a long journey through a situation. Like they
Oh,
have a double
absolutely.
meaning, and I think that's where the lyrical depth does kind of come into play.
Hmm.
Because I do think that on a lyrical aspect, metal on the surface is a lot more, not necessarily compartmentalized, but like it's dense. It has a lot of different wording.
Right.
It's very ambiguous. Like you can take it multiple different ways. Versus country is much more simply worded on the surface, and it's much more relatable to most modern people.
And I think like modern, like when I say like country, I mean like modern radio country.
Right.
So like a lot of modern radio country kind of appeals to that like very simple, like, you know, very, it's very surface level.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you look up like, more red dirt country, more like not super well known people, essentially like not radio country,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna hear a lot of that like in depth, like you said, kind of compartmentalized,
Yeah.
and it can apply to, like, you hear the lyrics and it's not necessarily, um, I'm trying to think of a good word to say it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not set for one audience. Like you could be feeling a certain way. Like for instance, there's a song on that new album, West Texas Degenerate,
Right.
called "Dosing."
You're talking about Treaty Oak.
Yes. So they talk about in that show, in the story of the song, is he's like, hey, I've got this girl, um, and the relationship went awry, and he's taking LSD and drugs to kind of forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he makes the paradigm like, seeing the pretty shapes makes me forget your pretty face. Well, like, I don't do drugs, but I think all of us have been in those shoes before. Where like I'm just trying to find something, whether it be other women, alcohol, drugs, that we use to escape kind of reality. So I think
Something
that,
to hold on to, more or less.
right, something to kind of make you forget about that feeling or that person or whatever. Like we all use different substances or different acts
Right.
to kind of forget something, right? And I feel like there's a lot of parallels to that in metal music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good song.
Well, what are some other red? And this is a new one to me. You just brought this up, and we've actually never discussed this previously. But like red dirt artists, what are some other ones? Would you consider Hardy a red dirt artist? Because Hardy's one of those ones that he really like brings in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
heavy influence, and like Hardy's one of the bigger country music artists that has
Right.
actually gotten my attention in the last couple of years.
I would not classify Hardy as red dirt. Um,
What are some other ones you would classify as red dirt?
so I would this is very weird because it's like two very different like genres, but they two different styles of music, but they kind of fall into the same genre.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this, but like another like red dirt country is like early Austin Mead.
Okay.
He's got some kind of dark undertones based out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Co Wetzel, he was kind of like he kind of made it popular.
Yeah.
Song "Drunk Driving," um, February 28th, 2016, stuff like that. So like something that you wouldn't hear on the radio. And another kind of, I don't know if I consider this red dirt. It's not really in the same style as like Treaty Oak, Austin Mead, or Co Wetzel, but you're not going to hear much on the radio. It's called Turnpike Troubadours.
Never heard of it.
So they are very much like, I don't really know how to explain this, but it's kind of like, um, I would say like Texas, Oklahoma bluegrass, but the storytelling is really good. So for instance, one of my favorite songs by them is called "The Rut,"
Mm-hmm.
and initially it's kind of talks about an elk hunt. And you're like, well, how does that like, what does that mean? Well, in like deer hunting, elk hunting, moose hunting, stuff like that, like the rut is like in the hunting world, that is, you know, that's a time when, the animals go into like, their breeding season, right? But for
Yeah.
us, a rut's like, well, I'm kind of going through a rough time in life. Like, well, I'm kind of down on my luck. Like, maybe not having a necessarily good mental health, like, period.
Right.
Well, they make the parallel between the rut and
Ah. Okay.
the
I see.
hunting rut, and I'm gonna get out of the rut that I'm in, like, as in, like, you're in a bad headspace.
So it's like a parallel drawn to like a male deer trying to find a female
Trying to
partner.
find like in that case, almost like a purpose.
Yeah.
And when you're in a rut, you're kind of hunting for that purpose, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the parallels that they make in the song. And with Turnpike Troubadours, they, a lot of their lyrics, they're all written by the lead singer. All their stuff is written by him.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like very much double meaning.
Mhm.
And I think like that type of like music style of writing, maybe this is like what I like about like Red Dirt style,
Yeah.
is like a lot of the writing is very deep and personal, much like metal music, right?
Right.
Like
Super.
some of the stuff that they talk, and you're a musician, you write, you get it, you
Yeah.
channel that inner like channel those inner demons, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Pretty
And,
much. Yeah.
well, they
It's
do
very
that a lot,
cliche, but yeah, they
right?
do.
And they do that a lot in some of these not as well known country artists. They talk about their struggles. They just do it in a different genre, but it still shows the same emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Honestly, to answer that question, this is something I've been running around in my head for like a couple days. I was thinking about it in the shower. And, with like my past affliction, our stuff we're writing and, trying to write the WEP, I was thinking to myself, like, how do I appeal differently? How do I make it sound different and unique? And how do I break out in a way to where everybody's going to notice me first? And what it comes down to is, like, if you look at country and you look at metal and you look at rock and you look at jazz and funk and reggae and all these different genres, ultimately, I think that it's not necessarily all about the sound. As an artist, personally, to me, yes, it is, because I'm the creator. I'm on that creative perspective. But to kind of hit it on the nose, they all might sound the same, but they all feel different.
Right.
That's the parallel I'm drawing to what you're saying is these people talk about a lot of similar stuff and they might word it in different orders, but ultimately what they're trying to say, the message of that song could be completely different from the next guy.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that ultimately, like, my opinion on music is like, I don't think about it too much because if I do, it kind of makes me uninspired to make music. But ultimately, when it comes to specifically metalcore, which is the stuff I write, especially as a drummer of like 7 years now, like nothing is really inherently created. It's all recycled. Like it's already been done. You're just doing it in a different way. And the quicker you kind of accept that, it does make it a little easier because you don't feel so pressured to like make something new, because if you've already accepted it's been created, then there's not this like muse to
do something,
reinvent the wheel, I guess.
Right.
And I'm not speaking out, and I'm probably gonna get attacked in the comments for this, but like I'm not saying don't go for like the top of the mountain, don't look past the goalpost. I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying don't get so caught up in the sauce that you lose the dish.
Right. So like I've always heard like looking. So I know you're a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I focus a lot more on like the vocalist and lyrical stuff.
Right.
And that's why I think you and I have two very good but yet somewhat opposing like viewpoints, right? Perspectives. So I think that what I've always heard is musicians is they're like, I'm gonna write about what I want to write about, and if it resonates with somebody else, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay too. So I think that kind of goes back to that, like, you write what you think is good, and if there's going to be people out there that are going to hate it, so what? There's going to be people out there that love it. Great.
I've always, and I've heard this conversation many times, that's a really good one to bring up, because it's like when you're in a band and you're writing, like you have to know if you're writing for yourself or you're writing for your fans. And there's no right or wrong, in my opinion. Like, there are definitely bands that listen to their fans and write what they want to hear, and that's fine, and I'm all for that. Or artists, like just solo artists. Like, I would consider Hardy a solo artist that has a backing band behind them. You see a lot of that now today, and like I could kind of tunnel that into something further, and I might go in that into a minute. But what I'm trying to say is I've always been the person that writes from the internal dialogue perspective.
Right.
And I speak about whatever I have on my mind. Now, I will say, and this is a good segue to something we talked about for many years, how we talked about, like, Caleb and his new album, and how we were like, man, like, this new album's so bright and happy, and he's doing better, and he's sober, and, like, he's cut his hair and all this stuff. How does he get on stage and sing anything off Sick and Disgusting and still, like, mentally have the tolerance, I guess, to do it, because he's not in the same place. And now that I've wrote songs that either have or have not come out, lyrically or on drums or whatever, even if I've never had a lyrical voice in it, I think that what it comes down to is what kind of a person you are, like if you're introvert, extrovert, because I used to think that the only way to get the song out lyrically when I've had lyrical abilities or been asked to write lyrics on songs or wrote my own lyrics, etc., is you have to be in it. You have to be, like, basically going through hell. I disagree now. And I'm not saying that you can't, because some artists 100% have to be going through it to get it out. I found it's much easier for me to write about something, even if I'm just journaling in my phone. I can self-reflect on that experience much easier because I have the clarity to look back on it in more of a third-person perspective and be like, okay, well, like, this is what happened, and, like, I went through this thing with this person, and this is how I felt in that moment, here, Y, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And I can kind of really sum it up versus, like, I'm in it, and I feel like if you're in it, depending on the kind of person you are, I feel like you're almost clouded by your own emotions, if
absolutely.
that makes sense.
I totally agree with that.
Especially with decision-making.
So I actually listened to a podcast that has the lead singer of Turnpike Troubadours came on this podcast.
Right.
And the guy that was doing the podcast actually asked him, so he had wrote a song, it's called On the Red River, and it's, pretty sad song, and he talks about his father dying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, leads the listener to believe. Well, the guy running the podcast asked the lead singer, well, what's your dad doing? He's like, oh, well, he works for an oil pipeline, and he's a welder, and he's like, oh, well, according to this song, I kind of thought your dad had died. He's like, oh, no, I just wrote it. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying, that, like, you can take either your emotions or other people's emotions and still put that in your songs and not have to go back to that dark place. Because I wondered that, thinking about, Caleb Shomo, prime example. He writes about, his earlier stuff was super dark, and he can still sing and write dark stuff when he's not in that place anymore. And I wondered, I was like, how can you do that? But I think that's a sign of a good artist and somebody who's a good writer who can go not necessarily in that frame of mind, but look at it from an outside perspective, just like you were talking about, and can pick things out of that and write about it. I think that's a sign of somebody who's like, now if you can't do that, like, that doesn't mean you're a bad writer or a bad songwriter, but I think that shows that, like, that's a very noble trait.
I'm trying to think of what interview it was. I don't know if it was with Joel Madden and Artist Friendly. Shout out Joel Madden. I'm trying to think of what it was, but I was watching a particular interview, and it was a artist. I don't know if it was like Noah from Bad Omens or it was like Sam from Architects or something, but basically the fundamental point is the same. Is they were talking about how do you get up there and do these songs and, like, not get sick of them and, like, be, like, emotionally uninvested in the song as you're playing it live, as you're performing it. And
it's a really
the answer to the question was, well, I do become disconnected with these songs. I do detach from them eventually. Sometimes I do it during the album cycle when we're doing pre-pro for the record and the record's not even out yet. I've heard different artists say that, but what they always come back and say, and in this particular interview I heard them saying is, I look out in the crowd and I see this fan screaming the lyrics, bawling their eyes out, and I'm immediately like right back to it. Like
Right.
I'm sucked back into that. And I'm like, oh, that's what this is about, and I'm immediately reconnected with the song, and we're doing the thing. Like
Right. That's
that,
cool.
in itself is like that's what I heard, and I was like, that's a really good way to look at it. And
Hmm.
of course, unfortunately, because I'm all the way in the back, I don't always get that perspective when I've played live in the past, but I do see that as a really cool way to reconnect with the songs because I have been in bands and we've played songs several times, and there's this like I'm trying to think of the way to put it, but it's like this I almost look at it as like maybe a line graph or something. There's this spike, and it's like, you're getting ready to play the debut material live for the first time, and then you get up here, and like you're at the peak, and then you play it, and then you start playing the songs more and more and more and more and more, and like it kind of slowly declines, and by the time you're like playing the song for the 300th time or the 1,000th time, whatever the number needs to be as a metric, it's kind of like this. You're just going through the motions
Right.
almost, and that it does kind of suck. And from like a drum perspective, I kind of have to like do different fills and spice it up and try and like make it my own a little bit just to kind of entertain myself because like I have to keep in mind that yes, this means something to somebody out in the audience, but it also means something to me, and like it can be kind of a daunting thing mentally to go through, especially when you're really like, especially if you don't like a song and you have to play it, it's very miserable.
Right.
And even if you're playing to like 20 people or like 100 people, what I found is like in that moment you get the privilege and experience to contribute to culture of like rock and roll.
Oh,
Like even
absolutely.
if you're not remembered by a million people, even if it's only by 10, like you get to contribute to the culture. Like when you get to put something out on Spotify, and whether the song is great or it's shit, like you get to contribute to the culture, and I think that in itself is really cool.
Right. And you're gonna, with the song that you write, you might not impact 1,000 people, but you might impact 10 people. Hell, maybe even one person who hears the things that you write, and they're like, "Wow, that really resonates with me." And I feel like, as a musician, if I'm not really a musician,
Right.
but I feel like if I could affect one person, like if I can make somebody like feel like they're being heard, because I know with like a lot of metal music, it's very emotional, right?
Hmm.
Like there are certain songs that people hear that like, oh my god, that talks about my life.
It feels like the song was almost wrote for you,
Right,
basically.
right.
Yeah. Those
And
are the songs that I love.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I love too. That's again part of kind of go back to the country aspect. Like there's a lot of metal songs that I feel like I was like, dang, this song was written for me. I feel
Hmm.
the same way about country,
Yeah.
certain country songs. But that's why I feel like that's why like musicians would do it. Is like if I could affect one person, like is your song going to be written for every single person out there? No. But I feel like that's why a lot of artists keep things not necessarily vague. I don't want to say vague, 'cause that sounds bad.
I'd say ambiguous
Yeah, ambiguous. So, like,
because it can mean multiple different things, but you'll never really know what it actually means unless they
right,
actually tell you. Yeah.
right. And I think that's the joy of music. Is I think that everybody can relate. And this is music in general. I feel like everybody can relate to something in the songs that they listen to, and I think that's why they listen to it.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Speaking of like impacting somebody's life with a song or just like a creative thing, I've had this instance one or two times. It's been very rare. Um, but like having somebody example had this person message me on Instagram and they were like, "Yo, like I've seen all your drum videos and I look up to you and like all this stuff." And it was like clearly a very younger individual,
Right.
I didn't realize at the time until it actually happened the weight of responsibility that comes with that.
Oh yeah.
Because if somebody comes to you and says your album saved my life or your video like saved my life or whatever, like it's like right in the chest.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's a very like it's a huge responsibility because it's like you feel like you're responsible for that person's like mental psyche in a way, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
really it's really pressing. And it can be really daunting. But something I was gonna say too is like you were saying, like just in music in general, it's like the way it makes us feel and like listening to it and stuff like that. Like I think that everybody like has that one soundtrack that they
Mm-hmm.
can use to describe maybe their self or their life or whatever.
Right.
And like that's what I was gonna lead into. Was if you had to pick a song that you think describes you, what would it be?
Oh
Or
gosh.
maybe that first song you heard as a kid that made you really love music. Like mine, for instance, is "Blurry" by Puddle of Mud.
Ooh.
As like the growing up, my dad,
Right.
it was like radio rock in the truck
Mm-hmm.
with my dad, or
I,
Waylon Jennings,
yep.
Hank Jr., Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, that stuff.
Right.
And then car with moms like Spirit FM, mainstream country like Jason
Mm-hmm.
Aldean, Brantley Gilbert, and then Leanne, in the car with her, my sister. It was like Kesha and Taylor Swift and like Eminem, and then it was country, and then same thing Spirit FM, so on and so forth. But like hearing Puddle of Mud on the radio as a kid, I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's cool. I love this. And it's like I don't tell many people this, and it's not like a secret, but like that song when it comes on, there's something weird about it. There's this aura it has where it may be a very dated song, and maybe thousands and millions of people know the lyrics to it and sing it. And I've seen them play it live. It's the only, I feel like it's the only adolescent connection I have to my adolescent self.
Right.
I feel like it takes me back, and I feel like I get to be like a kid again for that 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Like
I get
that's
that.
like an adolescent. Like so, like what song would you think if you had to pick one, or maybe two? Like if you have a couple.
Okay. So, like you and I grew up listening to the same things, like in the car with our parents. RV.
94.9, baby. Yep.
See, I was 96.3 RV, so like
Okay,
it was
same.
a lot of like, you know, dad rock.
Dad rock.
Like not like
Not what dad rock is today, because dad
Right.
rock today is a lot different.
right. So, I remember like listening to that stuff and like kind of a hot take like Metallica stuff like that. Like some of that's like I know you hate Metallica.
I don't hate Metallica. I don't hate Metallica. I don't hate Metallica. I think that Metallica makes good music. I don't think they make bad music. I just think what's happened with Metallica and me is that over the years, I didn't get into it. I kind of jumped. I always tell people I skipped like hair metal because I did. Like I grew up listening to like Motley Crue and
Yeah,
like
but
that kind of stuff.
that's hair metal. Like that is what like made metal what it is today.
Correct. Yes.
So and like I said, I don't necessarily listen to like Metallica or Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like I remember hearing that as a kid, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And talk about the moment. I had two moments in my life
Okay,
that like
yeah.
stuck out to me that I was like, ooh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I was very young, like maybe like 5, 6 years old.
Young Carter.
I had a video game that my cousins had that I got from them.
What game?
It was ATV Off-Road Fury 3.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
let's go.
either ATV Off-Road Fury 3 or ATV Off-Road Fury 2. Well, the intro song was Duality by Slipknot.
Yes.
And I remember hearing that song, and I was like, and it did something to me. And I remember hearing it, and I was like, ooh, I kind of like that. I don't know what it was, but I never listened to metal before.
Yeah.
If you want to classify like Slipknot as metal, but like when you're a young kid, like that's like, that's like whoa. So I remember hearing it, and I was like, oh, that makes me feel something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and I kind of ignored that for years.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound super cringe. That was the first moment. Second moment that really kicked off my metal listening quote unquote career was I went through a pretty nasty breakup in high school.
Sure. Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
It happens. Yeah.
Like your first
We've all
love, you're
been-
like, oh man, this one's it. This one's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna marry this girl. Never happens like that.
No.
All of those who married their high school sweethearts, shout out. That's awesome. But those of you who are in high school dating somebody who you think that's the person. I'm not going to say it's not, but it probably isn't. Went through a pretty nasty breakup. Dated a girl for a long time, and I was on Facebook.
Oh God.
Right. And sometimes,
What
like,
a
you know,
crazy place.
right, right, not where I expected to find musical inspiration or anything.
What year was it? Can you remember?
It
Yeah.
was probably about the time I met you, because it was like right, like probably senior year of high school.
Yeah.
I was getting
Okay.
ready to start college.
Got you. Right.
So I had heard I was, went down you know how you go like down like the video rabbit hole,
Oh yeah.
and you just sit there and like it's kind of like this was like before TikTok and like before like Instagram Reels or stuff like that. It was just like videos.
Yeah.
Well, I was on Facebook looking at videos, and I was kind of feeling myself, kind of sad, and I know it sounds really cringe, but it was the song "Stuck in Your Head" by I Prevail.
No, it's not cringe at all. I love that song.
And
So good. I still have it on my playlist.
and I heard that
I've jammed to it
song,
on drums.
and I heard that song, and I was like, oh, this kind of like we were talking about, like like music resonates with you, and it kind of makes you feel something, like brings up a part of you.
Right. Yeah.
That song, I was like, dang, that song's like talking about me.
Yeah.
And that was the first metal CD I ever bought. Was that I can't remember what record that was.
I don't remember either.
It was like the second record they ever made, or it might have been the first.
I think it was their debut record. I Prevail.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I kind of like this.
It's like the universe gave you like a piece of candy. It's
And I
like,
was
here
like,
you go. This is for you. It's the golden Wonka bar.
And I was like, oh shoot, they gave me the golden ticket.
yeah,
And I was like,
basically.
ooh. And I was like, that kind of scratched an itch.
Yeah. It's
that I
like,
didn't
here
know
you
I
go,
had.
kid.
I was like, I don't necessarily like the screaming part of it, but something about it just like resonated. I think it was just like the point in time in my life, and I was like, I needed something, and then that was it.
Right.
And then I bought. This was like before I knew what Spotify was, so I got
Spoopafoo.
Spoopafoo.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is kind of good. Well, then I went and I like started to explore music a little bit more, and I think I got Of Mice and Men's Restoring Force.
Such a
I
good
got that.
record.
And then after that,
Such a good record.
I didn't want to pay for Spotify because I didn't make a lot of money, and I was like, all right, whatever. Well, then I found a metal playlist, and I was like, well, I'm just going to listen to it, and if I see songs I like, I'm going to take a screenshot of it.
Mm.
Well, I had screenshotted like 50 songs, and 2 of those songs were by the same artist.
Mm.
And I was like, something about that sound I like.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought their record.
Yeah.
Well, that was Beartooth's album Disgusting.
I call this the umbrella effect. Because with one umbrella, there's a bunch of bands underneath that, and then below that is another umbrella, and there's a bunch of bands underneath that, and it's just this vicious cycle where you just like,
Oh, it just tumbled out of control. I'll never forget it. I had a Beartooth CD in my truck, and your mom probably feels the same way about metal that my mom does. My mom probably feels stronger about it than your mom. She had to move my truck, get in my truck for something.
no.
Well, right, and that CD was in there. And she like came back into the house and was like, "Oh my God, I don't know how you listen to that. Blah 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 blah. It's just all screaming." And I was like, "It's more than that."
Yeah. Before you judge, yeah, it's like that T-shirt. Before you judge the screaming, you got another meaning or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
something super
Corny
cringy.
like that. Yeah. I mean, it's true, but like, yeah.
And that started my metal. I'm not gonna say downhill spiral, but started my spiral into metal.
So I don't know. There's 2 things in this that I want to unpack. So the first, since we talked about video games, because I think video games is a great, from the business side, my entrepreneur brain, my business brain. Video games are a great way to get your song in front of kids, especially the youth. Like,
Oh yeah.
because like you're so like even in high school you're very impressionable. Like, this is gonna sound totally punk rock, but like I think the whole like you're not like dudes aren't mature until they're 25, 26, and girls are mature at 22, 23. I think that's total bullshit now.
Oh, it 110%
I think it's
is.
I think it's on a person to person basis. I
Oh, it
really
is.
do, because I've met 40-year-olds that need a hug.
Oh yeah.
They need a hug
Yeah, they need something.
and a
Like, they need,
diaper
correct.
and some other stuff.
Oh yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that where am I going with this? Video games are a great way to get your song in front of kids because they're so impressionable, like we were. And I remember going to, yeah, this kind of ties into both. So I remember going up to, we were renting this house on Elderwood Road, and there was this guy up the street. His name was Charlie, and he had the original Xbox.
Ooh.
He had Halo Reach. He had, I forget this other game. It was a war game called, I think it was called Black something, but I can't remember. It had bullets all over the cover. And maybe it was PlayStation 2, that game. He had multiple consoles, but he had Xbox, the original one, the very first Xbox that Microsoft came out with, and then he had PlayStation. And they had a little TV there, little box TV.
Oh yeah, I remember the box TVs.
A bunch of VHS tapes stacked up beside it. I remember seeing Tears Don't Fall by Bullet for My Valentine playing on the TV screen, and Matt Tuck's standing in the rain with the guitar, and he's got the mic, and he's going for it. And I'm like, at the time, I want to say I was like 12, 13. Like, I was young. And it was one of those things where, like, it wasn't quite to the degree of, like, oh, this is for me. It was kind of like my brain didn't know how to accept it or not accept it. So I just kind of stayed neutral.
You were
like
curious.
It browsed it
Broaden your horizons.
I guess, but like it almost like just made me go. It honestly, if I could think of like a phrase that my brain did, my brain probably just went, "What is this?" Like that's what my brain did.
Oh yeah, that's what I
and
wrote for
so
duality with me.
like Slipknot, going to so like I didn't immediately like, oh, I gotta go buy the album or whatever. Like I just don't know. Like, and then later on, I ended up getting a PlayStation 2 of my own that my dad gave to me. And I used to go mow the lawn for the neighbor, Jason, across the street, and he used to give me video games. And he gave me like Dukes of Hazzard and like all these really, really nostalgic video games that I would literally pay stupid money to play now.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Like there's some games that are like, I would rather play that 1,000 times than anything new. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't care about the new Battlefield. Like, I want to play the old Call of Duties. Like,
right.
That's just how I am because I'm that old now.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Oh gosh,
then I discovered,
oh
I discovered Rage Against the Machine.
Okay, so hot take: almost all of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtracks were fire.
Yes.
My roommate had it when we were in college.
Yes.
And he liked a bunch of the old stuff, so he had an old game console.
Yes.
And he played it, and I was like, I was already into metal and stuff at this point. I was like, dude, this stuff's fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if I was like a young like boy and I heard this, I would have been like, oh, this is it.
Yes. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, and I discovered rap rock, which was like Rage Against the Machine, and I'm not like saying the genre is rap rock, but like, it has that like rhythm, like I guess MC flow to it, like it just does. And so, it was cool, and it was like like it's rebellious. It was just so rebellious, and like any kid at like 14, 15 is gonna start to recognize like authority, and especially as a dude, like. Everybody's different. Like some people love to like follow the rules. Like it was just like 14, 15-year-old me was like, I don't know the lead singer's name, but he's like, F you, I won't do what you told me. Like, and all my brain was like, yes.
And you're like, that is it.
I like this guy. We're friends. Like, that's just like how
it's
it was.
Like, yeah, F you, I won't do what you tell me.
And like,
but you're a menace to Lisa.
Basically. And my mother, yeah. At the same time, I'm hearing that, and I'm like ripping the skateboard, and he's like big, and the graphics are terrible. And
oh
like,
yeah. That's part of it though. It's part of the nostalgia.
Yeah. And yeah, like I would love to go back and play those crappy graphic games, but like
Oh yeah.
so like Bullet for My Valentine, and then like it kind of pigeonholed from there. Like it was like Puddle of Mud from the beginning. Like that's always where it started for me.
Right.
But Bullet for My Valentine later, and then I kind of like moved away from that, and then I ended up discovering uh Linkin Park. And like something I used to do as a kid that like I don't do anymore, obviously. What I used to do is like I was getting into like World War II like history and watching a lot of movies, a lot of really like graphic, gory like World War II reenactment movies like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers and all
Oh,
these movies
such
that
good
I
movies.
was like way too young to be watching, but my dad would let me watch them, or like
Right.
300 Spartans or like whatever. And I would go if I found a song that I liked, I would literally look up uh like I would literally like look up 1,000 Foot Crutch, Adrenaline, Saving Private Ryan, and it was people that had taken bits and pieces of the movies and put the soundtrack in the background. And I'm watching the
Ooh.
movie and I'm hearing the song at the same time, and I'm listening and I'm watching to it, and I'm like, I guess I was just fascinated with the context of how it fit. Like the sound matched the picture, like graphic war maybe in this rock song, and I'm like, oh, this is so sick. And I would do that, and that exploded my music. That's where a lot of like the stuff I discovered, like Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park, like all that came from YouTube.
That's
And
cool.
it's like, and it makes sense too, because like when I'm in the gym working out, like I want to listen to metal because
Oh
I
yeah.
like, and it's like I don't necessarily want to go in there and listen to tech death, but like I would totally go in there and like do what's the what's what I'm trying to say? I would totally go in there and throw on like Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit
Oh
because
yeah.
it's the vibe. Like if I'm listening to Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit and I'm doing bench press, it makes me want to fold the weight in half.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, dude. I totally get that. Like, I know you're gonna get this because you love music. Like, but I could be having a bad day, and depending on what I listen to, I could be having like a middle of the road day, or like even a bad day.
Right.
If I switch to like a more upbeat music or like something that gets me hype, like it completely changes my mood. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been like gotten up to go to work, and I'm like, oh man, I just don't feel like going to work today.
Yeah.
And like, I got a 15-minute car ride to work, and I'll like play. Typically if I'm in a bad mood, I listen to metal, and like I'll come into work just like super pumped, just ready to go, just
Right.
based off of a 15-minute car ride, listening to just the right songs that I need to hear in that moment.
Yeah.
So,
A little anthem by Bring Me the Horizon at 7 a.m.
oh, absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I used to rip that stuff when I had to get up super early because I still listen to like you know going into work. Like I know you give me a hard time to listen to sad country music, but I never listen to sad country music when I'm like going into work because that's gonna put me like in a crappy mood. Like I'm gonna listen to like Currents or Beartooth or
Yeah.
something like that, just to like get me just like in a mood to like do things at work. And I know I work night shifts sometimes in my job, and I know sometimes it gets hard to stay awake, man. When you're like it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're just like, ugh, and you're like, I don't want to drink any caffeine because then I'm not going to sleep when I get home. So then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put on some metal. It just gets me like ready to go.
Yeah.
And talking about like the been in the bar and half, like if I'm listening to metal at work, I'm like, man, let's get stuff done. I'm just like super pumped. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. It's a great segue too, because like you're a police officer for Radford, I believe it was city, right?
University. Mm-hmm.
University, right? So like, do you think there's any part of your life journey kind of transferring out of music? But we'll kind of go back into that because I think there's an important point to make there. Do you think there's a part of you like? Did you see yourself being a police officer?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I remember.
Do you think that there's something like what was the thing along the way that made you go like I'm gonna try that, or like what like led you to that? Is there anything that
So
like started from a very like early on standpoint or anything?
I've always had like a little bit of a protective instinct
Yeah.
in me ever since I was little. Like I've always like wanted to stand up for the little guy, like
Mm-hmm.
because I knew what it was like to get bullied and stuff. So I was like, I'm not that basic cop. It's like, oh, I got bullied in high school and I'm a cop. Ho ho ho. That's not really. That's not why I got into the profession. But
Right.
I always, like I said, I always had a protective instinct. Always wanted to stand up for what's right. Um, and I sounds again super stereotypical, but I kind of wanted to help people. I just still do want to help people.
Right.
And because I went to college, I was dead set. I was like, all right, I'm gonna study this, and I'm gonna go to the FBI or something like that.
Right.
But I had a couple professors that were um, not very receptive to the idea of like the big alphabet agencies
Yeah.
because they said by the time the federal government gets involved, stuff's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if you're at the at the state level or at local law enforcement level, you know you can kind of get in there and get more stuff done because you don't have as much red tape to go through. And I was like, none of my family's in law enforcement. I don't really know um, really what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me just dip my toes into the law enforcement water, and that led me to working at the university. And a very common misconception is a lot of people are like, oh, you work for a university police department. It's not the real police.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's a really good one to bring up. I was gonna ask.
so in the state of Virginia, we are all government funded universities are required to have a police department,
Mm-hmm.
not security, not campus police. We are campus police, but I went through the same police academy as any other police department. I could go to any police department in Virginia and I could get a job like that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm already pre certified. So I went through the same training that all other police officers do and went through, I have the same certifications and everything. I just worked for a university.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's the same framework. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a different place. Um, and that's good too, because like what one like you being like you could. I feel like some of the things you would be as like a even being a security guard, like you'll take that with you for life. Like like for me, working on cars for as long as I did up until now, like I'm always gonna carry that.
Right.
And like if anything, it's cool because I'm good at figuring stuff out. Like if I'm over here at my my desk in the studio and I'm like I can't figure out why the routing for this specific MIDI plugin I'm using is not working. Like my brain immediately wants to figure that thing out rather than calling somebody to come over and figure it out for me because I just like that's how my brain works.
Right.
I'm so that's cool. Like was anybody in your family law enforcement?
No, I have not had nobody in my family is law enforcement.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
So we have
it's kind of a daunting task to like I'm going into uncharted territory.
well, that's cool too, cause like that's with me. Like nobody in my family does music.
Oh,
Like
right.
nobody. Like my dad has a guitar. He learned a few chords before I was born, and he kind of just put it down. He's never seemed to get back to learning those 3 4 chords playing "Smoke on the Water." But um, you know, to kind of be able to pick up, I guess that sword, if you will, that I didn't plan on picking up. That I just kind of found playing music. Is kind of cool because it's like I don't really see it as like, oh, I'm an anomaly, but like you get to be a little bit different, and you may get to start something for your kids. Like
Right.
who knows? Like if I have a son, he might be a great drummer. He could be a singer. It could be a lawyer. Like I don't
Oh,
know.
I hope to God my kids don't. If I have kids, I hope to God they're never in law enforcement. Maybe that's what they want to do. Like,
You better
by
hope
all
they're not a
means.
drummer either.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna have to put them in the basement and
Yeah.
just be like, hey,
Put them in a box, literally.
put them in a shed.
Get rid of them. Put them outside. It's funny you said put them in a shed. I play drums in a
No, I
shed.
know. That's why I
This
said
is-
that
made
because
that
I
reference.
remember
Yeah.
like when you were like cutting your teeth, like you were, you had your drum set up in your room for a little bit, and your mom's like, hey,
You gotta go.
you gotta go.
Yeah. Bye. See you later.
And you were in the shed.
Yeah.
And now look how far you've come. You have like your own place, a studio,
Yeah.
full drum kit. Like,
Yeah. It's really cool how this has all kind of evolved over time. It's funny too because like I started. Not everybody like if you're following from my original YouTube channel, Clay Blackwell, and you've watched the video that I put on there that I can't even watch anymore. It's about me like fighting depression and like chasing these dreams and like still chasing these dreams and like all that kind of stuff. Like I started out on a practice pad, then I got a practice pad set that I went and played on at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning before I went to my first shift job at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I worked till 2, 3 in the afternoon, and then I got done there and I went home and I continued to play more. And then after that, and I would just do that for like weeks on end. And then I hired an instructor, so on forth, so forth, And then I got a drum set, and it started out in my bedroom in my mom and dad's crib, and then it moved from that bedroom into the woodshed at the top of the hill, and then from that woodshed I was kicked out by my father because he needed it to make tables, into the other woodshed, and then finally years later I made myself into here where I have my own place and I can pretty much play whatever till whenever, 8 o'clock roughly. So yeah, it is cool how that's kind of evolved. And it's funny now because like I tell people this, and I was telling myself this the other day, like, because I'm always like, we talked about this earlier at dinner, like I'm always like measuring myself in different ways, like whether it's like being a musician, being an artist, whatever I'm doing here, or it's just like out in life, like you need to be better about keeping your word, you need to be better about being on time, whatever. I'm always measuring myself, and like recently I've been measuring myself in a way where I've been actually reflecting on my past and saying, dude, the old kid that was doing this before could run laps around you now. Like you need to pick it up. And I think that's like, like think about it. Like if it's going into the police stuff, like you're like after you took an initial interest into getting into police department for Radford, and you like started to see the fruits of your labor for putting into work in the classroom and in the field and getting those certifications or those stripes. I'm trying not to butcher it here, but you get my point.
Yeah. You didn't butcher that at all. You're actually right. Like when I rank up, I'll get stripes. So
yeah,
you're actually not wrong at all.
So, but once you kind of start to see that, it gets if you have the right personality, it gets a little addictive, and you're like, oh, it's working. Like and it's cool because like you get to see it in real time, and I think that's the beautiful part about it. I do think there's always a point where like you kind of do stop seeing the big results because you've already crossed off a lot of milestones.
Right.
And then you kind of get to these like subsidized little divots of progress that you can't really measure. And it can be a little discouraging at times because you're like, why am I not like, like I'll be in my head at work and I'll be like, why am I not on an arena tour yet? When like there's plenty of people that are doing that now. It took them 20 years. It took them 10 years. Took them 15 years. Whatever. It took them 9 years. Like there's no time punch on success. And I think also like something that at least in Western culture I've seen, maybe around the world, in humans, I would argue that all humans do it. Whether you realize you've done it or not, is we are so quick to break down the success in other people. Like we will watch, like I can sit there and point out Matthew McConaughey and all his Grammys and accomplishments and all this stuff, or Jamie from Polaris, or like Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon, like all these people, these icons that we idolize and put on a pedestal. We're so quick to break down the success in other people, but yet when we do something good, we won't, like as human beings, we struggle really hard to give ourselves the gratitude that we deserve when we do those things. And instead, we say, you could have done better. And we give ourselves a harsh word and a kick in the ass on the way out the door.
Right. But I think that's part of like, because I feel the same way. Like I'm very much like I'm my own worst critic. Like I'm harder on myself than anybody else has ever been or will be.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You were talking about earlier, I'm going to kind of tie this back to police work.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. Bring us back.
You were saying that like, it ties into your, you're saying, you have people message you about like your drum stuff, and you're like, hey, I'm just now starting out. I've watched all your drum videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And like that, how that made you feel, like
the responsibility that comes with it, the weight.
Right. Yeah. But also makes you feel good because you're like, man, look how far I've come. Like, look at what you were 5 years ago compared to now.
Right.
So like, for me, like, I train people, so I'm a field training officer. So I get to take the new guys fresh out of the academy. I get to turn them into officers.
Right.
And, you would be surprised at like the little things. Because I'm in a car with these people for 12 hours a day. Half of their day, I'm in the car with them. They see my mannerisms. They see everything I do.
Yeah.
And I have noticed like little things, that like little mannerisms and little habits they pick up from me, good or bad.
Yeah.
They are like sponges. And it's like with you, like that person who messaged you on Instagram, they're like, I watch all your videos, man. They're a sponge. They're soaking up everything that you do.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not necessarily like, you know, not every single person you play in front of is going to be a sponge, but there's going to be somebody out there who's going to be like, and they're going to emulate you, the good things and the bad things, right?
Yeah. Well, like in human nature, like especially like in music, or not even just in music, like if you're trying to get good at something, like even if you're just stacking boxes and you have no idea what you're doing, it's like a, I call it monkey see, monkey do.
Oh,
Because
yeah, it absolutely is.
because the best example I can give from my perspective that is authentic is when I was starting to make drum videos on YouTube for the first time. I had no clue what I was doing.
Right.
So naturally, the only thing that I know to do from a like literally childlike adolescent perspective, like from a mindset, I guess, is to mimic what I'm already seeing, which is
Right.
I'm watching Luke Holland and Matt McGuire and White Stab and all these other drum guys on YouTube. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't really have an identity here yet. So I'm just
Right.
going to imitate what I'm already seeing. And it might be my style of playing. It might be the video angles. It might be the lighting. It might be
Right.
the branding. It could be anything, you know. And there's parts and bits and pieces of stuff that I still find myself imitating from 6 years ago. And there's stuff that I've still, or there's stuff now that I feel like I've kind of reinvented the wheel on in my own way. And I feel like is, oh, that's me. Like that seems true to me now, you know. Like, you know, the stick tricks in my video, like that came from Wyatt, and I still do it. And it's funny because now it's become secondhand nature to where like I don't even realize I'm doing it. I'm just playing the drums.
Right.
You know, I'm not thinking about it. So it's really interesting how as we grow and develop in life and like go through these like challenges and obstacles and stuff, that so much of it is made up of what we've seen somebody already do and how much we create it into our own version, and then we use that, and it somehow becomes more of an originality thing where it's like, oh well, that's Clay, you know, he's doing his thing. Where
But they don't know that you got that from Wyatt, and I'm sure that Wyatt picked that up from somebody else. You have
Luke
to think,
Holland,
right?
he got
like,
it from Luke Holland.
Like all of
It's this beanbag effect, dude. It's like me passing the beanbag back to somebody else.
it's like a patchwork quilt.
Yeah.
Like like the whole expression, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I think it takes a village to make a person. Like not just raise a child, but it takes a village of people and influences to make you who you are.
Yeah.
Like you could take, all of your influences in the drumming world, and they're all different people. And I'm sure that anybody that knows those people could see those influences in your music style, just like how that when I train somebody, they can see my influences, but then I still find stuff that I learned from my past supervisors. And so and I'm sure that they learned some of that stuff from their past supervisors. So it's just a big patchwork quilt of our experiences.
I'll agree. And like, this is a good segue too, because like, I think that the idea of like saying you're self-made is cool and all, but nobody is, like, in my opinion, nobody's self-made. You have the help of people along the way, even if you're imitating somebody else. And like, when you get into like, it's 2025, we're a couple days after Thanksgiving, and like Christmas is coming up. We got 2026 like pretty much on the horizon. And we've got, TikTok and influencers and like all these people. And like, what I think the world needs more of nowadays is like people to be able to think, even if they're imitating somebody else, it's fine on the internet, but people to be able to think for themselves. And I'm so glad that the internet was not as big as it is now when I was growing up, like because I actually had the chance as a child to think for myself, and I didn't have my phone shoved in my face every day.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like there's kids walking around there 12, 13 got an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I had a BlackBerry and I thought it was cool. Like,
Oh yeah.
like that's how I grew up. And like, and I'm not hating on influencers because I very much influence a genre of music for
Right.
sure. But I think that the idea of like Western culture, like it's this, I've heard songs wrote about it. I've wrote stuff about it in my journal. Like it's this constant need to fill a void. It's like, oh, like you need this skincare routine line, you need this hair product, you need this scarf, this sweater, these pairs of shoes, this Louis Vuitton book, like all these things. And I'm like, at what point is enough enough? When are we going to be able to have some originality and spontaneity and actually think for ourselves and come up with our own ideas? And like I said, I'm not hating on influencers, but like you got all these influencers on TikTok and they're like cramming it down these kids' throats. And I'm like, God, these kids they don't even be kids anymore. Like they just, oh, well, I need I need a Mr. Beast hoodie. Like, I don't know. It kind of, in a way, nothing against them. It kind of grosses me out a little bit because I didn't grow up that way. And I think and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think it's very foreign to me, and that's why I'm not so accepting of it. Which to them, it is. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Like, they don't get to think for themselves, and they're so influenced from such a young age. Like, and like we go through life, and our brain is a computer, and through our prefrontal cortex, we process all these information and emotions and all these things, and like if you're constantly looking into the black hole when you actually ever going to have time to have an original thought in your body,
Right.
you know, it's a vicious cycle that like never ends.
It really is. It's
It's kind of scary. And it's, with AI and everything, that's another thing too, is, that's coming to music and everybody in the music world's talking about that. I've had multiple people, talk to me about that. I know you don't really do music, but that's not like, that's definitely something that's going to get talked about on here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's I think the more that the biggest thing to me, and this is like the biggest piece of advice that I think I can leave here on this episode is like I've always, if I see people, if I see a genre of music doing something or a group of individuals doing something, or even if it's just like going to school as a kid, if I saw people wearing like the newest Jordans and like a Nike hoodie and like all this stuff, I immediately, my brain always went, okay, well, they're already doing that, so I don't want to do that. And I'm not saying that I haven't copied people because I totally have.
Right.
But now more than ever, I kind of have come back to that standard of like, okay, well, this has already been done this way, and this way. So if I can't do it differently, then I'm probably not going to do it at all. And it's like right now with the music we're writing in My Past Affliction, the trend seems to be in music, at least in my opinion, like the trend in music seems to be how ridiculously heavy can we be? How obnoxiously heavy can we be? So immediately my brain goes, well, we're not going to do that because everybody's already trying to chase that rabbit hole or go down that rabbit hole. So ultimately, I think what's important is to sometimes not follow the masses and do what is indifferent, because what's indifferent is seen as originality, and where originality comes as uniqueness, and that's where you might get your big break on whatever it is you're trying to do. That's my biggest thing to take away from this episode is like, just be as authentic you can, be original. Don't feel so influenced to follow people just because they say go this way.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
I mean, I think that's kind of like quote unquote the meta way is to like, kind of go against the grain.
be rebellious a little bit.
Right. And I know, we kind of talked about this earlier in the podcast that like, you're saying that when it comes to like drums and stuff, it's kind of all been done before.
Right.
So you wanting to not go you wanting to go against the grain is kind of really, really hard to do so.
Yeah, like
Not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that
yeah,
like
you can, but like and it's very convoluted if you think about it too much. Like, you know, I can play, an eighth note hat beat with snares on the 2 and the 4, you know, but maybe instead of playing it with closed hats, maybe on the end of 1 and the end of 2 open the hats, and do an accent or something. Like I just try and do something, like don't mimic people, and it's like I'm being very ignorant right now because when I learn songs for my channel, if you watch my channel, like I pretty much learn everything note for note just because I'm trying to increase my vocabulary in music. So I think ultimately when you get those pockets of freedom where you get something in front of you where you are allowed or you see the opportunity to be original and think for yourself, do that. I'm not saying it's wrong to mimic other people. I just think it's done too much. Um, and ultimately, yeah, like in music and rock and metal and like, country and, like punk is like 3-4 chords. Pop punk is like 3-4 chords. Like
right.
it's, like MGK's pop punk album, like, you know, those songs have been played before, just in a different way,
Right.
and
And it seems to work. I mean,
it seems to work. And like I
not,
said, it all comes back to they might sound the same, but they all feel different.
right. And I was gonna, and then kind of touch about that. Like yes, you want to be different, but man, sometimes things just work,
They do, yeah.
and they've worked for years, and they will probably continue to work.
Metallica. Metallica. Like that's the thing, is like coming back to that is like I don't get it. I'll never understand it. I've heard these songs 1,000 times. I don't love them. I don't like them. I don't hate them. I don't think they make bad music. But unfortunately, they just didn't make music for me, and that's okay.
Right. But I think that's coming from your music background. Like you can appreciate complex music. Prime examples like AC/DC. Like their stuff is incredibly simple. Like drum beats are simple, guitars are pretty easy. Vocals are not that hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it works for whatever reason. To the untrained ear, like I do have a musical background,
Right.
but to the untrained ear, it sounds cool. But to the trained ear, it sounds repetitive and boring. But not everybody has a trained ear.
Well, that's also something that's really cool too. Is like, what's not really cool? It's you going to a concert, like you going to watch Architects, and me going to watch Architects.
Oh yeah.
For example, it's two different things
Mm-hmm.
because you know music and you love music and you have a little bit of background and knowledge. You don't play though avidly like I do.
Right.
You're going to experience that show far differently
Oh,
than
absolutely.
I'm going to. Versus me, I have a really hard time staying in general pop and watching a show. Not because I feel like I'm better than everybody and I need to stand side stage, and I've stood side stage at festivals and stuff like that before. It's not that. Yes, it's cool. Yes, I want to be there. Yes, I want to stand side stage. Duh, because this is what I do. But it's more or less from the analytical standpoint of like, it's a very weird, not even off-putting thing, but it's like I'm standing in gen pop and I'm like looking at the stage and I'm like, it's like if you work at Arby's and then you go there for lunch. That's what I describe it as. It's just weird.
Hmm.
It's not like, you know, awkward, I guess you could say. And it's more or less because I can't really just sit there and enjoy the show. There's very few bands that I can do that for. Architects is actually one of them because I actually saw them for the first time this past year. But like, for instance, like if I go see, I'm trying to think of a band like a name that I've seen, like if I go see a Void, I'm watching the lights, I'm looking at the soundboard, I'm listening to production, I'm looking at their stage plot, I'm watching the drummer and how he's playing, I'm watching his, like how he's doing whatever fill that I've heard on an album, like I'm looking at I'm not looking at the macro image. I'm looking at the micro images.
Right.
I'm compartmentalizing and micro visualizing everything in real time.
Right. But
Versus everybody is just listening to the song.
right.
That's the part, and it's not something that I inherently do on purpose. It's something that I literally just my brain immediately starts to do.
Right.
And by the time I've done it, the set's over with. I'm like, oh, I probably should have just listened to the song. And I'm like, it just, I can't help it.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
you're a musician. You've heard all different parts, so I kind of get that.
Yeah. So, ultimately, there is a sacrifice that comes with being good at anything because you know it in and out far better and you're educated on it. You are way more quickly to analyze it and judge it differently than others, I think is the big thing.
Oh, right. I do the same thing, like, in my job. Like, I see, like, videos of people or stories about, cops doing bad things. And I'm like, well, obviously, like, I'm not taking it at face value. I'm like, well, obviously that was wrong. Like, well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And I'm not taking it at face value.
Just like asking the question, like, why did you arrest this person the way you did? Why didn't you do it, protocol, or why did you not read them? You just like all these old little integral things versus like some kid in Kansas is like sitting there watching it like, oh, I can't believe he did that. So, I don't know. But I will say the great question is to end this podcast is if this all were to go away tomorrow and you could leave the world with any piece of advice or any thing that's like important to you or maybe like something you've always said to yourself, what would it be? If this were all to go away?
What do you mean this all to go away?
Like if like for today's like our last day on earth, like this is all going to go away tomorrow and you're allowed to leave like one little like breath of yourself, what would your like last bit of your ethos be, I guess?
Put the gun down, young man. There's too much to kill yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out Dracula Flow, my favorite video.
What is that?
So there's this old guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's like, in his like 70s. Well, he dresses up like fake Dracula. And he just says like heinous things.
Oh my gosh. It's like Tourette's guy, but Dracula.
Right.
Without the Tourette's.
But it's not like Tourette's. It's like it's absolute brain rot. But he says some wild stuff. And that was one of the things he said was, put the gun down, young man. There's too much out there to kill yourself. When I'm feeling sad, I listen to that. It makes me feel a little better about myself.
Oh my gosh. That's so good. Do you know what mine would be?
Okay, that's not a very serious one, but you go ahead while I think of a serious one.
Oh, okay. You're going to think of a rebuttal? Okay. Honestly, well, it's not well, I have a serious one.
Okay, let's get the unserious one because I did an unserious one.
Okay.
So you hit me with the unserious
one. All right, so unserious one. I should probably call her.
Ooh.
I should probably call her.
I should probably call her. If you're wondering if you should call her, no. Do not call her. Do not call him.
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
No, it's not.
Don't call her. If all this were to go away, what would my one piece of advice be? That's a great question. Always do what makes you happy, but
by the way, guys, it is 1:51 in the morning. Neither one of our brains are firing.
Right? Yeah. This is a very like it wasn't impulsive. This was going to happen. We just decided to do it tonight.
Right.
Go for it. That's what I would say. Go
I
for
like
it.
That. I like
go
that.
for it. Yeah. Do whatever makes you happy and go for it.
Except calling her or calling him.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Don't
That's
do
bad.
that. Don't call her. Don't call him. But like anything else, like my last statement to the world, if it was tonight, would be to go for it and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And typically, when you think it's all over, you're just about to blow.
I get that. I like that.
Yeah, you're just about to blow. Yeah.
So I think my like parting words would be, it's not that serious, and it's never that serious. I think a lot of people like tend to take life super seriously, and they get super worked up. It's like, man, it ain't that serious. Like it ain't that big a deal. It's not serious.
It's really not.
No.
No, it's not. You know, because, like, if you think about it on a macro perspective or a maximum perspective, we're sitting in a studio with two mics in front of us and we're talking technically to nobody at this moment, just to ourselves or to you. We're on a rock that's in space, it's floating, and it's doing this and this at the same time.
People take life too seriously. It's like, fuck it, you know?
Yeah, fuck it. That's even better. I like that even more.
It ain't that serious. It's never that serious.
If you, by the way, if you think the Earth's flat, you're an idiot. Just so you know, the Earth is not flat.
I thought we were not getting political on this podcast.
It's not political.
Okay.
We're not getting political. We're getting geographical.
Okay. Unfortunately, that is like, people genuinely believe that.
Really?
Oh yeah, and like that's a very political thing.
Yikes. Well, I hate to put it out there.
Like, you're not wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, the Earth's not flat. It's just not. Yeah.
That's just news to me. Whew. I'm gonna have to go.
Somehow we started with how long we've been friends, so the Earth's not flat.
Hey. This is news to me about the Earth not being flat. I thought it was flat. My bad. I thought it was just like, I thought the oceans were surrounded with a big ice ring, and that's what keeps us from sliding off.
Are aliens real?
Save that for a different podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me on this episode, dude. It's been awesome.
It's been a good time.
Yep. All right, guys. That's a wrap. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to connect with the podcast, just links down in the description below. All that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating. It really helps the podcast. And we'll see you all guys soon with a new episode.